One Page Weekly with Nick Slavik. Cave. Data plus feelings. 400 million years ago, or when I was in high school, according to my kids, my state of Minnesota was under a shallow tropical saltwater sea. I could stop this right here because of the amount of humbling perspective that gives me. Honestly, hard to comprehend. Over the course of hundreds of millions of years, sea creatures were born, lived, and died. Their bones and shells accumulated at the bottom of the sea, were compressed, and formed one of my favorite rocks, limestone. If you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor. I would argue limestone's highest and best use was in farmhouses and buildings from the late 1800s, when my kids thought I was in college. It's a beautiful light tan rock that pairs wonderfully with the Minnesota prairie and oak tree savannas. I stood 100 feet or so below the surface, surrounded by this limestone with my family last weekend in the longest cave in Minnesota, almost 13 miles. Since limestone is relatively easily dissolved in acidic rainwater, these caves were formed beneath the surface of Minnesota farm fields as water fountains cracks in the rock beneath the dirt and carved away slowly and consistently for millennia. On the ceiling above us in one of the large openings was a 4-foot-long brachiopod, a long-shelled animal that resembled an ice cream cone, a beautiful fossil. Hundreds of millions of years of history enveloped us. I found it both amazingly difficult and effortless to weigh our significance in it all. A few things really struck me. The first was how black it was with no light. When the lights were turned off and everyone locked their phones, I was instantly reminded how we take light for granted. The damp, cool air around me almost pushing in against me as I stood in the dark, inches from my family, not able to even make out their shapes. Balance started to get squirrely, depth perception was non-existent, and I started to imagine a scenario where maybe after an hour or so you could lose all sense of direction and even what is up and what is down. We live amongst so much outside stimuli. Another thing that stuck with me since this cave visit was the 1.1x of it all. I was 2 feet away from a huge formation of flowstone. Rainwater absorbs carbon dioxide, which is acidic. This acidic water dissolves the calcium in limestone, runs down through the cracks in the rocks, then deposits these minerals on the side of cave walls, forming flowstone, or this glossy, soft, vertical curtain-like rocks. The water drips never stop. Sometimes the cave flood when we get huge rain events, but even at the dry times, the groundwater seeps and the drips drip on. I watched one large flowstone curtain fold drip 2 times per second, times minutes, times hours, times days, weeks, months, years, and millions of years. 2.7 billion drips just since I was born. 11 billion drips since Minnesota became a state. 17 billion drips since the US became a country. 5.6 quadrillion drips since the last dinosaur walked 100 feet above me on the ground above this cave. It never stops, in the dark, quietly carving this beautiful cave. An extreme example of small things adding up to big things over a long time horizon. A lesson I've taken to heart earlier this year. Then there's a feeling I've had since I was a child. I'm not able to explain it in a simple way. It's weird. When I take in the arc of time simultaneously, I have 2 thoughts. I'm completely insignificant, and at the same time, nothing is more important to me than my very long, but also very short time on Earth. I looked at the cross-section of the other people in the cave with us. I've never seen them before. Didn't know they existed. I'll never see them again. To me, they are insignificant. But if you ask them, they are not insignificant. I wasn't aware of their existence apart from this chance encounter. Do they worry like I do? Do they feel deep love and joy for the other significant humans around them? So what is it? Are we sentient beings with the gift of consciousness on a magical journey, deeply loving our offspring and striving to make a difference and leave our own fossil? Or are we completely insignificant in the long arc of time and space? I know my answer. This has been One Page Weekly with Nick Slavik.